welcome everyone to another episode of Amplify Your Authority podcast. I'm Marisa Shadrick. I'm an online marketing consultant. And once a month, I am joined by Kathy Farah, ConvertKit strategist, and we talk about copywriting. Welcome, Kathy. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I think our subject matter today is going to be really, really helpful because a lot of people have a lot of promotions that they want to do in the fall. And of course, during the holiday season, they may want to do Black Friday or something like that. But we're going to talk today about email marketing, which is something that you love to talk about, right, Kathy?
I love emails. Yes.
You love emails. So yeah, in case anyone doesn't know just tell them a little bit about you in case they're just tuning in for the first time and how we kind of came together. I think it's good to kind of recap that because we're always getting new listeners.
Yeah. So I am, as Marisa said, I am a ConvertKit email strategist. And I help, or small businesses hire me to help them with their sequences, re-engaging their audiences, cleaning their list, and kind of eliminating some of the tech headaches that are surrounded with email marketing. And Marisa and I met through, I've been participating in her group in Amplify Your Authority. And so she and I had met, and when we would meet one-on-one to have different conversations, we would end up just talking and talking and talking about marketing strategy in general, and then email marketing and copywriting and all the things. And so that's kind of what brought us to this point of realizing, hey, we actually like talking about this stuff. Why don't we do it live?
Yes, we both geek out is basically what she's saying, because not everyone, I mean, when I talk to my husband, he goes, oh yeah, okay, that's really nice, Marisa. Not everybody gets excited about this stuff, but Kathy does. So she's a wonderful geek, just like I am.
Yes.
And she loves research like I do. And so we geek out together, and she loves technology and so do I. I mean, it's a match made in heaven, right?
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Oh my gosh. But
everyone else's eyes glaze over, but we are totally engaged.
I know. We try
when we get into those deep conversations.
Yeah. And we try to keep these segments really simple and actionable and really step by step, because we realize that some people are at different stages, and copywriting is so important. Because especially the online space, I mean, you can do video, but even video, what are you saying on the video? That's copy.
Right.
And you need captions, that's copy. Your website, that's copy. Your email campaigns, that's copy. Your sales pages, that's copy. All of it, even a PowerPoint, what you put on it is copy. Yeah. So it's such an important piece. And when we talk about headlines, we emphasize it because it is like the starting point, because you've got to catch people with a headline. And there's so much that could be said about headlines alone. And so I know that some people think, well, I'm a good writer. I could just, put something in there or put something in ChatGPT, but it's so much more. And I think some of the past episodes, we've covered some of that, Kathy, where we've talked about the importance of that. So hopefully you're getting some value from this. Email marketing is the next step once you've captured their attention and they are part of your ecosystem. They are in your email and they're part of your email list, email community. Then what do you do? Right?
Right.
So I think, Kathy, you've discovered, as I, that some people forget or maybe procrastinate to communicate to their list. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, I would definitely, because I think people, often worry about what to say. It isn't always that easy. And really, if you have a good understanding, thinking about the services that you provide, and you're providing value and sort of speaking to one person, one topic, one call to action, don't make it overwhelming and put everything into an email, and just really being able to focus. I think you're right that a lot of times people just feel like I've got to cram everything in. and really just breaking things up piece by piece, leading eventually to maybe your paid offers, is kind of the key thing when it comes to email marketing.
Yeah. And it all begins with really understanding what your message and copywriting, which I love the power one. You know, I am just an advocate of that. But again, thinking, what is it that I want them? And this applies to email marketing because we're going to get into this when we're talking about copywriting. So what do I want them to think, or what do I want them to understand? What do I want them to feel? What do I want them to believe? And what do I want them to do? And we want to narrow that down so much that it just is streamlined and it's clear. And that brings the clarity. When we're clear, then our message is clear. When we're not clear, then the message can get kind of foggy and hard to understand. And if you confuse, you lose, as the cliche goes. And it's very, very true. So for email marketing, let's just start, Kathy. What if we just start with what you don't need for email marketing and what you do need? To keep it really simple, to show them how simple this can be. So what we don't need, what's one thing they don't need to be effective in email marketing?
A website.
You don't need a website.
We stress about that, of having this perfect website, and you don't really need that to start collecting emails.
Yeah. In fact, if you're not quite sure what direction your messaging is, like your brand and everything else, you know, you might want to have a really great live page that will attract people to give you their email, and you give them a resource and start surveying your people inside your email, so your email subscribers. But you don't really need a website. Now, if you had one, it's great because you can level up and you can do other things and you can create, you know, podcasts and blogs, but not everybody starts there, right? So there's a lot of people have been very successful growing an email list without having a website.
Right.
So
because I think it takes some time, right? So I want to kind of highlight that, to take a little bit of pressure off of yourself, because as you're starting an online business, you may be trying to dial in exactly what your services are. And so it does take some time to write the copy. It just doesn't flow immediately. You've got to, you know, having an email list and starting to see what people kind of click with and what seems to get their attention may help you start to dial in what you need for your future website.
Exactly. So you don't need a website. Secondly, you don't need a budget. You just need one live page. So whatever you're going to use eventually for your website, you don't have to build a homepage, about page, and all that stuff. If you don't have the time and you're not sure what to put on it, don't let that stop you from growing an email list. Now, we keep saying this and people are wondering, why is that such a priority? Let's explain and unpack why it's important to grow your email list from the get-go.
The key thing is that being able to communicate with your future audience, your client base, you build deeper relationships through email marketing versus what we kind of all know going into, you know, communicating. We want to do everything on social media. And the truth is that it takes a lot of work, a lot of posts. I mean, oftentimes it's 1 to 3 posts a day that you're just having to kind of inundate and put out there. And that's just putting a little drop in a huge ocean of people that are looking at information. With email marketing, you're able to narrow that down to people that are truly interested in what you have to say. So you're not just hitting the masses, you're helping to try to narrow into your true ideal audience. And then you go from there to build a more direct relationship with that person.
And the people, historically for me, the people that buy from you are the people that are in your community, in your email list. So if you want to sell, if you want to make money, you've got to grow your email list, because if you don't have an email list, you don't have anybody to sell to. And so they are the ones who have already, like Kathy said, you've built a relationship, you've given them value, you stay in touch, you stay top of mind. And so they're discovering not only what you do, but why it's important. They may not have known. Their level of awareness might have been, well, I knew it was kind of important, but I didn't know why. And as you communicate with them, they're realizing, oh, now I get it. I really need to dial this in. I need more information on this. So if you want to sell, you got to grow your email list. So and like
Yes.
Kathy said, it's more expensive and harder to just go straight social media, cold audience to sell. It's
Yes.
more, even if you use ads, it's going to be more expensive.
Right. And you really don't get the return on your investment as quickly with social media. Certainly not through organic. You almost have to only use ads to really see any return. And it's pretty low compared to email marketing.
I look at social media, and I don't know if you do, but whatever I'm creating, I use it as like another source to just kind of throw it on there.
Right.
Throw it on social.
To have some appearance and
presence. To have some appearance and take what I'm already doing and putting it out there. Putting it out there on social and using schedulers. But, and then if you even post more than once, you're competing against yourself on your own platform. So it's going to hurt your reach. And so we end up, this is what we were told, right? For years. And we wore ourselves out going, wait, but this isn't working. And so,
And here's the truth. I was doing some research recently. You'll be excited to know. And social media, what I realized is you have about 2 seconds to grab someone's attention. So it actually means you have to have stronger copywriting to grab someone's attention in that 2 seconds in a sea of people. With email marketing, the typical use of people is that you can think about even how you interact with your emails versus social media. Oftentimes, the first thing that people are doing are checking their emails. And if they recognize who you are, then you could possibly grab their attention. Now, you still have to have a good subject line, but you get 3 minutes of their time that you have an opportunity to be able to connect and be able to share information in 3 minutes with somebody that genuinely wants to hear from you. So you can think about exactly how you engage with your own emails. When you see something that comes from somebody that you know, you're more apt to open if the subject line is relevant to what may be of interest to you right then. But with social media, I know this is how I am. It's just scroll. It's harder to grab my attention unless it's a cute dog. Like it's not like otherwise.
And we're not selling dog food either.
So what I know is, and that's not true of everyone, but the truth is you do have about 2 seconds to grab someone's attention. So you really have to write well to do that effectively if you're not using ads and having that pop up for you.
For sure. And again, it's really mastering the copywriting and see if you could target the audience through ads and stuff or social media. I mean, it doesn't hurt if you already have it. If you already have a lead magnet, then it doesn't hurt at all to put it on social media. And it doesn't hurt to have some kind of frequency of appearance on social, but don't think that that is what's going to bring the revenue. That alone. So, growing that email list is really, really important. So you don't need a website. You don't need huge ad budget. So you can do this with content creation. So you don't need an ad budget necessarily. And you don't need, a huge team in the beginning. Later on, it'd be great. But, I mean, it'd be great. But some people don't want a huge team. See, that's the thing. What is it that you want? Some people like just working as a solopreneur. Maybe they just only want to make 300,000 or 500,000 a year. So making, $500,000. Wow. That's so little. Wow. So sad. No, I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Everybody's talking about millions and 7 figures and all this other stuff. I don't want that because I know the responsibility it's going to take, to handle a business of that size. So you make 300,000 or 500,000 a year. Hey, that's awesome. That's great.
Yes.
I mean,
right.
why would you want more? I mean, maybe you do, but
And everyone's a little different, right? But I
yeah,
mean, if you know that isn't what you're looking for yourself, then then that you don't have to have a massive team behind you and a
I
huge
know.
budget
I mean,
to
you
be
think about it
effective.
because you don't hear that a lot. You don't hear somebody saying, "Oh, that poor person, poor Jane, she only makes 300,000 a year." That's so sad. You
Right.
don't hear that.
No.
That's wonderful. So you create what you want. You create what you
Yes.
want, but you don't have to have a large team. So those are the things you don't have to have. But what you do need in order to stay compliant with the laws
Yeah.
that of email marketing, you need what, Kathy? Why don't you share
An
with them?
email service provider. You
Mm-hmm.
need something that is designed to handle the email marketing specifically. So you don't want to do something like blind copy a list of people through a free email account like Gmail. Like
Yeah.
that's not going to be nearly as effective. You want the ability to have someone be able to unsubscribe if they're no longer interested. So an email service provider or CRM system will handle all of that for you very easily.
Yeah, you don't want to appear as like a spammer, just using your own
No.
personal email and sending them out. An email service provider means they've opted in and you're not swiping emails and just sticking them in there.
Right.
They've opted in. You don't do that either.
No.
So,
Just
yeah.
because you have an email address somewhere sitting on your desk, don't add that to your email list.
No, they need to opt in.
Yeah.
And so, and so you need, and now Kathy and I, like we said before, we see eye to eye in many things, but we use different email service providers.
Yeah.
Right. So what do
Yes.
you use, Kathy?
I use ConvertKit
Mhm.
for my email service platform. And part of the reason why I've enjoyed ConvertKit is it's very straightforward. It allows me to do the automation in a very straightforward way. So for me, that works really well for my audience. It lets me create the sequences I want to create and automate the processes and let me have the insights I need to know what's working, what's not working. And it's just
Mhm.
kind of a straightforward
And I
process and
use
platform.
Active Campaign, which is a CRM, customer relations management tool, which allows me to combine not only the email marketing, but also I can have landing pages if I want, and also my appointments go on there. And there's a funnel, so to speak. It goes on a pipeline, so I can track clients, especially coaching clients. I can track at what stage they are in, and I can put even reminders and follow-ups to myself because I'll
Yeah.
forget. So it's a little bit more robust. Not everybody needs that. I do, because I do done for you copy, but I also do coaching, and I do individual coaching and group coaching. So to manage all that, it helps me to have a CRM, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit more robust, and they have templates and things like that in there, but you don't need that. I mean, you can start
No.
with, you could even start with MailChimp if you depending on funds of what you
Right.
have. And then Kathy can help you switch it over to ConvertKit.
Right. I was going to say, I often end up getting clients to switch to ConvertKit for the straightforwardness of it. And it does have free landing page templates and forms and things like that. So there are some of those elements too that I forgot to mention. And ConvertKit right now actually has like a free newsletter plan. So they're at this point, maybe even a little less expensive than MailChimp and some of the other ones with the more competitive newsletter plan that they've just started.
So you know what we should do, Kathy? We should put a link to ConvertKit and Active Campaign in the show notes.
Let
we'll put a
make
link.
the choice.
Yeah, and you guys go check it out. Just all those tools, check it out. Make sure you like the customer service. Make sure it integrates with your other tools. Make sure it fits your budget. Whatever works for you. We just want you to take action. So if taking action with something else, I think Active Campaign has a 14-day free trial. So just shop around. This is when you do your little homework and you research and you see which one fits, because it's not just price alone. It's what are some of the features. So you do want, in this case, look at some of the features. So the other thing you do need to do, and I was trying to figure this out in how to, because people don't like to hear it. But I think you should dedicate about 10% of your weekly time to just writing, and writing your thoughts, writing tips, writing things, because those can eventually be blog posts. They could be social media posts, and you can repurpose those, and they can also be part of your email campaign. You know, if you're just sending something out, if you're always just writing a little bit, then you're not going to be, oh my gosh, what am I going to write? I got to put something out for tomorrow. Right. I think if you just get in the habit of always writing, or maybe it could be part of your journaling time. If you journal, you know, some things you've discovered, or maybe you got inspired from a book you're reading or a podcast you heard, and you take little notes down, you know, keep that. Do you do that? Because I do that.
Oh my goodness. Yes. You're speaking my love language. I have notebook after notebook that I'm listening. Most of the people that know me, I've got several books on audiobooks, actual hardback books, so on. So yes, I definitely get ideas from all those different sources.
Yeah. And so do that and just spend 10% of your time. So whatever time you spend a week working on your business, allocate a certain amount of time for writing. And that writing will make the rest so much easier. And yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
I was just going to say, and just to, you know, keep reminding yourself that the objective is one topic. So you're really just focusing on one thought for the email. So if you've got a lot of ideas that come to you, you know, you could really, that could be a lot of pieces of content. You could end up with a month's worth of emails by just focusing on the one topic. I think a lot of times, we mentioned this earlier, but I think a lot of times people get a little overwhelmed, even with all the ideas. They want to put everything into an email to share all the things they know. And if you split that out a little bit and just look at, okay, I'm just going to follow this one topic all the way through, it's easier for people to understand, especially if you're trying to help them understand the things that you do for people. Then it makes it easier to write, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah. So scale it back. Most of the time people put too much. So scale it back, keep it simple.
Yes.
And keep it, you know, the frequency and how long and how short, you'll know as you check your analytics, you'll know and you'll adjust. But for the most part, just stay in communication with your email list. So
be consistent.
Be consistent. Now, there are other optional tools you can use for email marketing. I'm going to just mention them real quick, and then we're going to go into the three because we're like running out of time here. So you could use, of course, AI tools if you want. Never just copy and paste from an AI tool. And there's a season of learning that it needs to do. So use that with wisdom if you do use that. Also, there's tools like subjectline.com to kind of test your subject lines, but just because it says it's okay, it may not be okay. You just make sure it makes sense for your audience. If you like emojis, there's a place where you can get emojis and put that in there. Some of the email service providers already bake that in, so the emojis are in there for you. There's also those little, is it pronounced Giphy? Those little, little moving little images. There's a site there where you can add those once in a while. It really just depends. I'll put a link to all these resources in the show notes, but it's just to catch attention, like Kathy was saying, because we want to have a pattern interrupt, like whatever they're expecting, give them what they're not expecting, right? You know, and the beauty about emails, though, it's different kinds of headlines than, say, a lead magnet. Because a lead magnet, you got to tell them what it is, right, for them to be interested. But with a subject line, Kathy, we could put a little curiosity in there and not tell them everything so that they'll click and open it, right?
Yes, questions. Have a few questions where it gets somebody thinking about it. Can I add one other element too that I've noticed more recently is also having a business email address. So even if you don't have a website, having a business domain where you set up through your, domain provider like a GoDaddy or something like that, that you have a business email address, because that's more effective than, say, a free email address like a gmail.com with your email service provider.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
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 So you want it to say, like, mine is like Kathy at kathyfarrow.com. I've taken my domain, my business website that I didn't start off having a website, but I did start off with having that email address from day one.
Yeah. I do the same thing. Mine is Marisa at marissashadrick.com.
Yeah.
No Gmail at the end of it, or MSN or Hotmail or whatever those are,
Yeah.
have the domain, and that's easy to do when you get your domain. So that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even think about that. So anyway, that's why we cover each other's back here. So, and the nice thing about emails too is, and you can do this with social media posts, but I love automations. I love scheduling things. So I love that. A lot of the stuff, Kathy, we can create it, automate it, and forget about it.
Yep. Especially when you have busier times. I mean, I think one thing that I've noticed with my clients during the summer, it's, there's a lot happening during the summer. And so if you're kind of starting at the beginning of the month and you're planning out your content, your weekly content, then as long as you're picking a consistent day and time to send an email, you could schedule all of that out for several weeks in advance, to where then it gives you a little bit of a break in, make it, you don't have to be rushing to your computer every Tuesday at 8:30 to send, get the email ready to go.
Yeah. And then if you do have a post that you're doing on Instagram or LinkedIn or something, and you thought, oh, darn, that was a really good post.
Yes.
Grab that thing and turn it into an email.
Repurpose it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure. I do that all the time.
Right.
So anyway, and it keeps growing. It'll start with a post, and then it'll grow and get tweaked for the email newsletter, and then it'll grow and get tweaked for a blog post. So it just it keeps building, like it grows.
And really, if you've created some great stuff, months ago, repurposing that and just tweaking a subject line and tweaking some, maybe a little bit of the copy. Sometimes that's sufficient. People don't always remember, that's that you worry that your audience is going to go, oh, they know I sent that 5 months ago. But new people are coming into your list. And even for the ones that have been there a while, if you're changing a couple of the elements, it still is relevant.
And they'll forget.
Right.
Because you said, oh, remember I sent that out three weeks ago. What?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Even 3 weeks ago. You're right. Yeah.
I mean, I do that. I forget. Yeah. Sometimes I download a resource and I've already downloaded it. I forgot I downloaded it.
Yes.
Right. So we all do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to fly through these. We're going to talk about the purpose of the Welcome series, the purpose of a webinar series, and the purpose of a promotional series. We're going to talk about the purpose. What's the purpose for it? Remember, we're talking about one purpose. What's the purpose? And maybe 2 or 3 little elements of this type of email campaign to help you out. So let's start with the Welcome series. Kathy, tell us, what's the purpose of the Welcome series? Somebody opts in, there's a lead magnet. They like it. They grab it. What's the Welcome series for?
So the Welcome series is basically welcoming someone into your email list and into your community. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself and get, basically kind of say hello, so that you're not just having someone sign up and then nothing happens. You want they get the freebie and that's the end of it. You want to be able to start to nurture the relationship a little bit, the same way you would if you think about it, like someone comes to your home. You wouldn't just open the door and then turn around, walk away, and not welcome them in. You would show them around a little bit, right?
Yeah, for sure. It is the first step of that relationship. So we're trying to avoid all the stranger danger, and we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to, introduce them to our brand and who we are, maybe set expectations, maybe unpack a little bit more value on something that they've downloaded. So you could make a welcome series. I don't know what you typically do. I typically go 3 emails, sometimes 5, depending on the lead magnet, but typically around 3 emails, because then they jump on to the regular flow of receiving the the Monday marketing memo, and then they also receive the podcast on Wednesdays. So what do you typically do for a welcome series?
Right now I'm testing a little bit of a longer sequence. So I think mine's about 6 or 7. But so I'm testing out a daily during the welcome sequence period, a daily email, which I tell them at the beginning. So they know going into it that it's going to happen daily, and then you'll get a weekly email. So this is not my typical flow. And that's what I kind of explain right out of the gate. And then I lead them to a paid offer, so that way they have the opportunity to be able to work with me. So right now, one of the things I would say about any of your sequences, I think have some freedom to test different things that might work with your audience. I have done shorter sequences. I've done a little bit longer. Right now, I'm in the process of testing something a little bit longer. We'll see. I just look at the analytics later and decide whether or not those emails are relevant. Do I need to pull some things out? So I just kind of, look at and decide where I'm going to go with the next one.
And it depends on what the lead magnet is, because I'm working on a lead magnet for the fall that's a challenge, an email challenge. So that one, I'm still debating. I think it's going to be a 5-day challenge, but they will receive 5 emails. So it makes sense because that is a lead magnet. So, so it just depends. But for the quick, like the checklist and those kind of things, there's really not a whole lot of explanation to it. So I usually keep around 3. So it really depends on the lead magnet. So it depends. A webinar is a lead magnet, and we can kind of segue into that. And the webinar is a lead magnet. So you're going to probably have more emails. So the purpose for the webinar is obviously if you're sending them an invitation to a webinar, you want them to register. Right?
Yes.
You want them to register. So again, webinars have changed a lot. Have you noticed that, Kathy?
As far as what seems to be working or not working. And
So for all these emails, you want to just keep it take off your marketing hat. Just be you. Use the words you use in conversation. If you're inviting them to some training, it's okay to bribe them with freebies, if they show up or if they register. It's okay to do that. In fact, more and more people are doing that because it's getting harder for them. Well, not so much to register, but to show up live. So there's 2 separate email campaigns there. There's one to get them to register. And once they're registered, you need a separate campaign to follow up to get them to show up live. So it's a little bit like A part and B part to that. But the main thing, for if you're having a webinar, you're obviously training on some type of problem or struggle that they've had, right? So talking about that would be a good idea,
Helping to help them understand the value of coming to the webinar and seeing you teach whatever the topic is.
So you want to think, I want to tease them. I want to tease them about what's to come and what they're going to discover inside this training, this live training. And so, you may have to introduce the topic. Again, level of awareness. It's a copywriting principle. Where are they in the level of awareness? Is the webinar going to help them become more aware of what they need that they don't know they need yet? Or is it a no-brainer? So all of that has to be taken in consideration when you're writing these, because they may look at the email and go, well, I don't need that. So maybe the emails need to have a little bit of reasons why this is so important. So again, level of awareness would have a lot to do with that as far as the registration. And I think too, the flow of it, like making it really streamlined too, so it's not clunky. Don't you think that's important too? Let them know what's.
I think honestly, throughout any of your emails, helping someone understand what to expect, is important, because it just makes people go, okay, especially if it's things like this, where there may be several coming at a different rate of how you normally would send emails. So if I normally send an email weekly, Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., then if I'm doing something different for a webinar, helping them understand you're going going to see daily emails until we get up to the webinar, or, kind of giving them a little bit of insight on what to expect. Then they know, and we'll send a reminder before the webinar begins and that type of thing. One, it helps to ensure they remember to show up. And two, it kind of just helps them know that this is a little different than what I may be typically emailing.
Yeah. And mix it up. You could throw a video in there.
Right.
Throw a video in there and see, you can mix it up to see what resonates with them, because hearing you talk about this training and your excitement and your tone and your personality could do a lot, which text doesn't always translate in that way. So, you do a video to get it all hyped up and let them know that they're going to receive this great resource once they register. And maybe, the emails afterwards to get them to show up live, you offer another little bribe. That's okay. So you think of ways that you can make them aware of the importance of value, like Kathy said, and then the expectations. And I think that just comes from being very, very clear, like date and time and all of that, to make it really, really clear for them. So I think that's important to get those people to register.
Yeah. And I think all of these sequences, just remember that you need white space and, kind of headers and things like that, help to divide a little bit of your copy so that it's just easy to skim, get the important elements that they need to know to take the actions that you want them to take.
Yep. And lastly, let's talk about promotional series. If you're going to sell and you're selling something and creating a campaign to sell, I hope that's not the first email they've received from you. So in other words, they joined and all of a sudden you're selling some kind of $5,000 program or something to them. Let's talk a little bit about selling via email, because it's important, because that's why we're growing our email list, right? Because eventually we're going to sell them something.
Right.
So there's lots of things like segmentation, like surveys, like things to figure out, who to send the email to. Let's kind of unpack that for them a little bit, Kathy.
So stepping back for just a moment and kind of at a welcome sequence point, if you have a little bit, use an opportunity to start to segment your list or start to think about how you might divide or offer services, surveying your list to help them identify what's most important for them will make it easier down the road when it's time for you to want to promote something to them. So if you know that they've signed up for a certain, free guide, then there might be certain services of yours or a certain offer that might be more relevant to that group of people than just your general broad newsletter. So having kind of knowing in preparation of your promo, what offers may be relevant to certain people will ensure you're going to get a better result than just kind of mass sending things. Now, if you're still kind of starting and you're trying to figure some of those things out, it's okay to send things to all people, but just know that your results may vary if the offer is not something that's relevant to
or you can even
person.
ask them in an email, a short email. I'm thinking about, creating this course or this training. If you're interested and this is something that you'd like for me to send you more communication on
There you go.
Click here. And that way you begin to segment, even if you didn't do it, because maybe you're thinking, oh my gosh, I got 5,000 people in my email and I never segmented. You could still do it.
Yes.
You could still do it. It's
Absolutely.
possible. So you could do something like that. And then I would also, like, whatever newsletters or information you send out weekly, I would start talking about that topic, kind of dropping the seeds about that topic before you sell. Yeah. So they're thinking about it.
Yes.
So right
and starting to see the value of it.
Yes. And right now, like, for example, I'm talking a lot about lead magnets because I've got this membership that I'm updating with a course and everything I'm creating. So right now it's not done yet, but I've been talking about this for the last couple of months. So you talk about it. So, and from different angles, again, level of awareness, so that when you do promote, it's not like something that just came out of the left corner and going, oh, why are you talking about that? So it makes sense. So those are little things that you can do. Like if you're going to, even now, when this podcast goes live, I would start thinking about Black Friday if you're going to sell something for Black Friday. What would it be? What would the bundles be? Those kind of things. And maybe start talking about it way earlier, not wait till November.
Right.
Right. I would start really figuring out so that by the time November comes around, everything is done. November 1st, it's done.
Yeah.
You're not having to scramble. You're enjoying Thanksgiving, you're enjoying the holiday season, and you've already got it all set to go out. So that's what I mean by that. So talking it up and creating interest in it. And of course, with selling, copywriting principles, you want to really leverage the copywriting. In other words, urgency. Why should they do it now?
Yeah.
Right? Create some kind of urgency or scarcity. They might think, why you? So what would you put in there? You know, if they're wondering, well, I don't know, will this work? What would we put in emails that would show them that we are credible? You know, so those kind of things. What do you normally do? Do you put social proof or testimonials?
Yes.
In your emails?
So I do, I try to address, kind of talk a little bit about, is this kind of you? Is this the pain points you're experiencing? And then sort of flip how those pain points can be addressed as benefits with the solution that I might be offering. And so I try to divide those types of things up where I'm helping them see themselves in potentially this, that I could help you solve that particular problem. And then, yes, I do put in some testimonials and let them see as far as how other clients have experienced success in using these different services.
Yeah. One way to look at it, and this is how I've looked at it, I use it as a starting point, is a typical sales page. People kind of know the structure of a sales page. It begins with an opening story and some struggles, and then it kind of transitions into the possibility of a better life or better future, and then benefits of that, and then features of that. I take the idea of a sales page template and I flip it on its side. Okay. And then I create emails that talk about those little sections in an episodic way.
Yes.
Just like Netflix. An episode. Here's episode 1, email 1. Here's episode 2. And I tease in the one email of what's coming in the second email to create that anticipation. So it's obviously not identical to a sales page, and you can't just grab it and paste it into an email, but think of it that way as the structure, flipping it on its side and creating a nice, seamless campaign that gives them all those points they need. Again, I'm looking through a copywriting filter here. And then it makes it a little easier to.
And I think that's a good way of being able to then scale things down to one topic at a time by taking that approach. And it kind of goes back to that whole idea of really staying to one topic and then really one call to action. What is the one thing that you're wanting them to do? Don't send them everywhere. And, oh, by the way, follow me on social and do this. You want it to be just kind of stays and sticks with the, where you're wanting to go that relates to the promotion.
Yeah. Well, now you can see when we said we geek out on this, we geek out. We've just talked for a long time. So we better bring this to a close because Kathy and I can get going on this stuff. And there's so much more that we haven't been able to touch. But we were trying to give you an idea of how important email marketing is. If you want to sell, you really need to grow your email list. So we're going to kind of bring this plane down for a landing. If you want more information on this, I have a blog post that I just went live, and you can go to marisashadrick.com/email. And it gives you a few tips in there. It also gives you another article on how to build your lead magnet, because you need to have an effective lead magnet so that you can grow your email list and so that you have somebody to email to, right? So the resources are going to be on there as well. So I'm going to put, I'm going to put the 52 lead magnet ideas in there. And then one of the tools I mentioned today about subjectline.com, I'll put in there as well. Kathy, if they already have an email list, and maybe some of it's a little dead or old, what should they do?
They can go to kathyfarah.com/reengage and get my re-engagement strategies to win back those inactive subscribers that may be on your list. I think everyone that has an email list has some inactive subscribers on the list that maybe either you haven't been as consistent or you've kind of evolved in your services, or just people have gotten busy. And it's a good opportunity, especially before you promote, to re-engage those inactive subscribers and get them back to actively getting involved and reading your emails so that you could do these strategies that we've talked about.
I think that's a great idea. So if you don't have an email list, I'm your gal.
Yes.
If you have an email list and you've kind of abandoned it, or you need to, bring it to the next level, Kathy can help you with that.
Yes.
So it's going to be kathyfarah.com/reengage.
Yes.
Or marisashadrick.com/email, singular email. And that will give you lots of opportunities to really think about your emails and your lead magnets and position yourself for more sales, because that's why we're doing what we're doing, right?
Right, exactly.
That's the whole point. It's the whole point. So anyway, Kathy, any last words? Thank you so much for being with me. It's always a joy, and I always love chatting with you, and you bring so much value and insights. I really do love you a lot. Virtual hug.
I was going to say, we always have so much fun. Thank you.
So you're welcome. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.